Dabo Swinney will win the Dodd Trophy for the National Coach of the Year this upcoming season.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Up, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Locked On Clemson podcast. I'm your host, John Bivens, here bringing you everything you need to know regarding Clemson athletics, all sports, all passion, all of the time. Thanks so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every single day. We are so appreciative of all of our everyday listeners. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast at and over on YouTube. We also are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. Today is Tuesday, July 9th. We're going to dive into some exciting stuff, talking about Dabo winning that award this year. We're also going to talk about the top 20 games this season and how Clemson landed 2 of those. And we're going to end it with our every Tuesday part of the show where we talk about our Tracking Tuesday. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app now, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. We are so excited about today's episode, and it's an exciting one. It's an exciting couple topics to talk about. Number one is this: Dabo will win the Dodd Trophy for National Coach of the Year. Recently, they released their overall top watch list for coaches to make to win this trophy this year. They came out and they released, hey, these are the coaches that have a good chance of winning this. ACC showed up on this list. When ACC tied for the biggest conference with coaches on this list. Honestly, I feel like every time we talk about something, the ACC is one of first place or they're high up on it. So it's weird that the conference is falling apart when they're doing really good. But anyway, ACC had 6 coaches that made the list. SEC had 6 coaches make the list. Big 12 had 4 or 5, and Big 10 appeared on it as well, with one independent school being Notre Dame. But the ACC coaches on the list was Jeff Brom from Louisville, Mario Cristobal from Miami, Dave Doran from NC State, Mike Norvell, who just won it this past year with FSU, so really surprised if he wins it again, Brent Pry from Virginia Tech, and of course, Dabo Swinney from Clemson. And here's my take on this. I think he's going to win this award, and here's why. There's been so much hate on Dabo. There's been so much hate on his position with the transfer portal, saying that he's declining. They've had a couple of years that didn't live up to the success that Clemson has built to know as their standard. And because of that, people are saying he's declining. There's a difference in not performing a couple years and declining. And I think this is the year to prove that. I think if he has a bad year, then the declining talks might be a real thing. That might be true. That might be something they need to worry about. But if it's not, if this year Dabo comes out and goes back to what he was, goes back to his prime of winning games, of winning championships, that's huge. Could you imagine? Let's fast forward. I don't want to fast forward through the season, but let's just pretend we do. Let's fast forward through the season and say Clemson wins a national championship this year. Clemson even makes it to the playoffs and makes a run in the playoffs. The head coach that went from that prime time, so many ACC championships in a row, made the playoffs more than anybody in a long stretch, won 2 national championships in 3 years. That coach comes back after 3 years of being disappointment, doesn't bring in a transfer in the offseason, doesn't bring in a 5-star recruit for next year, which we'll get to in a second, but then goes and proves he doesn't need to transfer, doesn't have to adapt his style, and is dominant, wins the ACC championship, goes to the playoffs, makes a run, even wins the national championship. If that happens, there's hands down no reason why he doesn't win that award. He has won this award one time before in 2011, his first year there, but now he hasn't won it since then. And honestly, this award it's not really meant to be an award that is the best coach in the year. It isn't an award to be just you're the best coach of that season. If that's the case, Dabo would have won it when we went undefeated and won the championship. Nick Saban would have won it more times than he won it. There was other coaches that would have won it multiple times. It's more of an award that's designed to give a surprising year. Mike Norvell, they were expected to have a good year last year. They were not expected to have the year that they had, going undefeated. Should have been in the playoffs, but left out due to an injury. Still undefeated, though. Won their bowl game, or lost their bowl game pretty big, but due to an injury. But yeah, he won it because after a surprise, like he won it and because he overperformed the expectations. It's honestly turned into almost like a most improved or for a head coach. And it's not designed to be the best. It's not designed to go to the best coach, the overall most talented coach. If that's the case, we would see a lot more repeats. We'd see a lot more coaches win it a lot of times, or we'd see fewer coaches win it, but those coaches win it more quantity of it, if that makes sense. It's not that. It's made to be coaches shattering their expectations, coaches making a huge improvement, coaches bringing their program to what they higher than they should be. And in all accounts, Clemson is not supposed to be a championship or contender. Clemson is not supposed to be a place where they are making a huge run in the playoffs, going to the championship game. So if they do that, Dabo shatters the expectations. He also said that's one reason. One, he'll win this because he's going to shatter the expectations. I feel like the majority of people are having Clemson continuing on the decline, not staying where we are. A lot of people don't think we're going to stay at this level we're at with 9-10 wins every year. They think we're going to continue declining to a 7-8 win team. So I think he's going to shatter those. I see us losing 1, maybe 2 games this year. That's it. So one reason he's going to shatter expectations. Another reason he'll be the National Coach of the Year, winning that Dodd Trophy, is he's proving that he can do it his way. There's something going on in all of college football where the whole college football system is changing. NIL's making a progress to that, where you're paying players, where no longer scholarships somewhat needed. They're taking away some scholarship spots, taking away some walk-on spots so schools can pay them. Sponsors are coming in. NIL deal, very, very, very changing the system. Transfers are huge. You can now transfer and play another year. It used to be you could transfer once, you have to sit out the year. So it used to be very different. Now transfers are changing. Dabo is known to have a little bit different views on those. He's never been outspokenly a fan of the NIL. He brought in 0 transfers this year, the only school that wasn't a military academy, service academy, to bring in no transfers. The only school in FBS that wasn't in the service. He hasn't adapted his game style to fit the modern day college football. And if that's the case, if he wins, if he has success this year doing it his way, doing it different than literally every single other football coach in the nation in the college level, if he does that, if he does success, if he shatters the expectations, if he wins and gets farther than what he's expected while doing it his way, there's no doubt he's the coach of the year. There's no doubt. There's no way they can look at Dabo, who makes it to the national championship or makes it to the semifinals, only losing 1 game, and saying, hey, we know you're the conference championship. We know you just beat so many more opponents than we thought you did. We know you had a better year than we thought you did, and you did it your own way, not molding, but we're still not giving you the trophy. No. If he does it his way, if he shatters expectations, if he goes through and does it his own way, blazing his own path, doing it the Clemson way, the all-in, bring your own guts, play for the team, not for the player. If he does it his style, his way, has success, has wins, still brings that level of competition up, so it goes back to the primetime years. If that's the case, there's a 0% chance that he doesn't get the trophy. And so the question is, if that's the case, the question isn't does he win it or not, does Clemson have a successful, great season or not? Because if they have a great, successful season, he's a shoo-in for the award. If not, obviously not. And I personally I think we're having that kind of year. I see us losing 1 game this year to Georgia on the first game. I'm not marking that out to a blowout. I'm not marking that out to a 100% loss. Like, if I was a betting man, I'd probably bet Clemson just because I think I'd take the odds. I'd bet against the odds because I don't think Clemson's going to lose by as much as they have them said. Again, I'm not a betting man, so I'm not doing that. But if I was, that's what I would do. Because Clemson's in this. They're competitive. The defense is elite. They're playing on a high level. Dabo's an amazing coach. Garrett Strider's had 1 more year. Garrett Riley has had 1 more year in this program, building up. Cade Klubnik's coming in with more experience, more program, more time getting together, being a leadership program. We brought in some great freshmen. We strengthened up our receiver core. Clemson's got a great chance to have a really successful season. And when that happens, Dabo Swinney will win the Dodd Award program. And so that's that. We're super excited. We're going to keep talking this football conversation, keep moving on in a minute as we dive into more topics about some of our toughest games this coming year. On3 put out their top 20 games this year, and Clemson made an appearance on a couple of those. So in a moment, we will continue that conversation. MLB is in the middle of their season, just over halfway point, and very little is better than going to a Clemson University game, but MLB games are right up there with them. I love going to different ballparks, eating a hot dog, and enjoying the time watching baseball, and Gametime is the app to make that happen. Gametime is an authorized ticket seller for all MLB games, and they're the easiest place to go for all your ticket needs. Whether it's advance or the day of, prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it is to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seats, and their lowest price guaranteed, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. Braves, they're exciting, right? Everybody's a Braves fan. They're a team that you can never count out. Padres, they're getting hot at the right time. Gametime is the best place to be able to go see your favorite team, no matter who they are. Some of my favorite things about Gametime are I love the fact you get 60% off when you're buying last-minute tickets. I also love the fact that almost every single seat before you buy, it'll give you a panoramic shot of your seat so you can know what to expect before you buy your tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Gametime app now. Download the Gametime on Google Play or App Store. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Gametime app right now. Welcome back to the Locked On Clemson podcast. Hey, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate all of you. We are so grateful for our everydayers. Those of you who dive into the podcast every single day. We know we took last week off. We went on a little vacation, a little summer getaway, but we are back posting every single day. No matter what's happening, you can expect an episode here on the podcast every single day. And we appreciate all of you that listen every day, that are faithful. You're part of the Clemson faithful, the Locked On Clemson faithful. We appreciate you. We are on the road to 1,000 subscribers. We are almost there. Since we took over the show about 2 months ago, we have grown by almost 100 subscribers. Let's continue that going. We're in the 900s. Let's continue this going. Help us hit that subscribe button if you're not. Share with some other fans so they can share and get this content as well. But On3 has recently put out their top 20 games of the upcoming season. They've came out and they have listed the top 20 games that you must watch this year, and that's going to be great. And that's exciting. That's something that is going to be really exciting to watch. All these games, I know if you're like me, you're watching all games. Clemson's on, we're definitely watching Clemson. But when we're not, we're checking out the other opponents. We're checking out what's going on. So we want to dive in and talk. We're going to briefly mention these 20 games that are happening, and then we're going to jump in and talk about the two games that Clemson had lands on this list. So number 20 is a great game. I love watching every year. It's Texas versus Texas A&M. Happens November 30th. 19 is also late November. Notre Dame versus USC. You got Alabama at Oklahoma. FSU at Notre Dame on November 9th. Alabama LSU, also November 9th. You got Missouri and Alabama making another appearance there at 15. Ole Miss and LSU. Michigan at Washington. LSU versus USC. Georgia versus Clemson. Opening day. That Clemson game landed the 11th best game this coming season. Diving into the top 10, November 2nd, you got Ohio State versus Penn State. Number 9, you got Georgia versus Ole Miss, November 9th. 8, you got Texas, Oklahoma, over October 12th. Number 7, you got Oregon versus Michigan on November 2nd. Number 6, right outside top 5, you have the other Clemson game. Clemson versus Florida State, October 5th. Number 5, Ohio State versus Oregon, October 2nd. 4, Texas versus Michigan, September 7th. 3, Georgia, Texas, October. Number 2, Georgia, Alabama, late September. And the number 1 game this year, they have it being last week of the season, Michigan versus Ohio State. No surprise there. 2 top programs in the nation heading off. So let's dive into the Clemson game. Clemson had 2 games appear on this list, and it makes sense why they're on there. Honestly, I think we could have had a couple other. I think the Clemson-Miami game is going to be huge. Clemson-NC State, they're supposed to have a great year. That's going to be a big game. But the first game that we had list, number 11, is Georgia versus Clemson, kickoff football game, August 31st in Atlanta. We will be at that game. It's going to be electric. We can't wait for that. But with that being said, that's a game that is definitely a top 20 game this year because that's going to have so much of a statement throughout the year no matter what. All right, so let's play hypotheticals. Let's play Georgia wins this game. Well, if Georgia wins this game, all of a sudden the SEC is up for grabs. Right now it already is, but they are the heavy favorite to win the SEC. If they come out with a loss week 1 to a non-conference opponent, that's tough. That's tough for them to rebound with the likes of LSU, Alabama, different coaches I know, but then Texas coming in, Oklahoma coming in. That's tough with them coming to town, which they might drop another game later on. So then you have the number one team in the nation getting beat by a team that they are heavily favored to win against. So that'd be huge there. Let's say and then Clemson win. That's a huge statement win for Clemson. A team coming in with no transfers, a team coming in with all kinds of doubt across the board from fans and fans of other schools. Them getting a win would be huge upset. Now reverse it. If Georgia wins, no surprise, number one team continues their run. They're going to win, blah, 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 blah. They're the favorite. If Clemson loses, though, all of a sudden the ACC, every single game, continues to matter just as much, even more. If Clemson loses to Georgia, they likely have to go undefeated the rest of the season in order to make the ACC championship game. Because Miami and Florida State are the other two teams favorited. They're likely to lose one game each. If Clemson loses 2 games, we're now behind them, right? So tough game. We've got to, if we lose that game, it provides a win or lose or win or go home almost vibe the rest of the season. So that would be interesting to watch. That's a huge game for us. Excited to see that kickoff game. 2 great programs, 2 amazing coaches. Top, my opinion, top 2 coaches in the FBS right now. The reason why is because they're the only coaches in the league other than Mac Brown that have won a championship. So they're the top 2 coaches in the league. It's going to be an exciting matchup. That's why it's number 11. I think it should be higher. I'd definitely put it top 10, but it's 11, whatever. The other one that Clemson made, and this is a top 6, and the hardest game, sixth best game to watch this upcoming year is Clemson at Florida State on October 5th. This game is going to be electric. This game is going to be wild. The ACC, this one is going to be such a great game and such a vital, important game to the ACC. If Clemson loses to Georgia and then we beat FSU, FSU now has to not lose another game in order to be that second seed in the ACC. Or if Miami goes undefeated other than Clemson or FSU, there's a hard battle right there. You don't know what's going to happen there. So that's super important either way. No matter who loses there, they better hope they don't lose another game of the season to secure their spot in the ACC championship game. It's very likely that this game will be part 1 this season. I think it will be. I think the ACC championship game will be FSU and Clemson, which will be electric. So I think this is going to be game 1 of a 2-game series this year between the 2 schools, possibly 3, considering the 12-team playoff. You never know what's going to happen there. But either way, really inviting game. So there's that level. You have Mike Norvell, who's one of the up-and-coming coaches, won the Dodd Trophy last year as the National Coach of the Year. He won that award. And Dabo Swinney's won it before, obviously one of the best coaches in the league, best coach in Clemson history. 2 amazing coaches, 2 successful programs battling out for the ACC. But there's also another layer of this game that makes it so much more exciting. And that's the layer of this. DJU comes and plays his team again. They're meeting in Tallahassee, so they're playing at FSU, but DJU, the quarterback that was at Clemson, sat behind Trevor Lawrence, played a year at Clemson, and then played a couple years at Clemson, transferred to Oregon State, had a great year last year, and now he's transferring back to an ACC rival, FSU and Clemson. He's going to get to face his former team, former coaches, former players that he had with him there for a couple years. So that's going to be exciting to watch. Now you have all the excitement of just 2 powerhouse programs facing off. Now you also add that additional element of a quarterback who is nationally known, not one of the best quarterbacks in the nation, but because of everything going on with him, he's well known throughout the nation. West Coast he's played there, East Coast he's played there. So having that player come back and play his program, it would not surprise me at all if College Game Day is not at this game. Definitely should be. That'll be a great one. So exciting to watch. Clemson's got 2 of the top 20 games to watch this year, according to On3. It's exciting. It's something to be excited for. Every single game with Clemson is a game that you got to watch, but especially these 2. Go ahead and book out your calendar. October 5th, don't do anything. Later on, or first game of the season, definitely August 31st. Kickoff of the season, don't do anything. Games to watch. It's going to be exciting. Make sure it's open. Make sure you're there for those. I will be at those games. I might not be at the Tallahassee game just because it's a little far from us, but we definitely will be at the August 31st game against Georgia. So we're excited for that. Make sure you're there. It's going to be great to watch. In a minute, we're going to continue on this episode as we end the episode every Tuesday like we do with a Tracking Tuesday, diving into some prospects. So we will see you in just a moment. Welcome back to the Locked On Clemson podcast. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today on this episode. Just a reminder, make sure you're sharing this with other Clemson fans. Make sure you're sharing this with a buddy, sharing this with other people that love Clemson as much as you do. Let's grow this community. Things to watch out for. Again, don't forget our Discord that's going to launch soon with all different kinds of episodes or all different kind of aspects. Make sure you're following and listening along every day as we dive into this. Hey, we would love to start talking about some questions that you all have. We would love to start addressing anything you want to listen to, any questions you have, any topics you want to hear about. Send us some ideas, send us some questions, send us some things you want to talk about because we would love to have that interaction. We would love to have that opportunity. So hit us up on Twitter at I am John Bivens. Hit us up over at the Tiger Wire, our other account that we're a writer for, at the Tiger Wire on Twitter or X. Hit us up over there. You can even email us. We're old fashioned. The email is thetigerwire@gmail.com, or simply leave a comment on YouTube. You can leave it on any video. We'll go back and find it. But make sure you just hit us up. We'd love to hear. You listen. You do us the great pleasure joining with us every single day, being faithful listeners. Hit us up with what you want to hear about. Hit us up with some content you'd like to hear us dive into, anything to do with Clemson sports as a whole. But with that being said, we're going to end the episode with how we do every Tuesday with our Tracking Tuesday. And Dabo's at work. Dabo's doing his thing. So we got some good news, we got some bad news, we got some indifferent news to dive into today. Number one, David Sanders, the 5-star offensive tackle, has announced his final schools. He's out of Charlotte, North Carolina, has announced his final 4 schools of where he's going to go to. He's going to announce his commitment on August 17th. He is one that early on, Clemson was very, very, very favored to get him. They was the leader. Everyone thought he was going to be at Clemson. But he announced that on August 17th he's going to make his decision, and Clemson did not make the cut. He's a 6'6", 285 offensive tackle from Charlotte. Again, he's took multiple visits, some unofficial and some official ones. He's going to be huge. He's going to be someone that whoever lands on him, whoever comes along, he's going to be a program changer. He's going to be huge for him. He's going to be really, really impactful. And so the fact that he eliminated Clemson from that's hard to hear, especially knowing we were being a favorite. Honestly, David Sanders was someone I was penciling in. Like, I thought we already had him. I thought it was almost a guarantee. Instead, he's listed it down to Tennessee, Georgia, Nebraska, and Ohio State. So hate to hear that. If he goes to Tennessee, I'm going to be very upset. My wife is a Tennessee fan, but I just can't stand him. After the whole Billy Amick situation, their whole fans, and every year you hear the same thing from Tennessee. Oh, this is our year. This is our year. Man, hush up. Taylor, if you're listening, I love you. But anyway, yeah, it's going to hurt wherever he goes. Hopefully it's Clemson. I can't stand Ohio State. My mother-in-law's a big Ohio State fan, so sorry about that to her. But can't stand Ohio State. Honestly, I hope he goes to Nebraska just because Nebraska's a good school, but it feels like they don't get the attention they do. And if you're not going to Clemson, yeah, go. I don't wish you success. No, I'm just kidding. I do wish him success. Great young man. Seems to be a great young man on and off the field. So hopefully he has success wherever he goes, just not against Clemson. But yeah, so David Sanders not going to Clemson, but some great news. Some great news that I think you should be stoked about. We've done a segment about this player before, about this prospect, but it is official. Tait Reynolds has committed to Dabo Swinney and the Clemson Tigers. Tait Reynolds is someone, we did an episode about him about a month ago, talking about our quarterbacks. We did an episode about our quarterbacks now of the next year and the year after. Tait Reynolds is a 3-star quarterback junior recruit from Arizona. He recently was committed to Arizona State to play baseball, but then decided he was looking into football, wanted to get different prospects, wanted to hear stuff, so he decommitted from Arizona State, and then a week later, here he is verbally committing to Clemson University. He is the program's first commitment, hardcore commitment from the 2026 class, so he's not this upcoming year's class. He is the year after, and if you listen to that quarterback episode we did out, man, I got some faith in this character. I got some faith in this guy. I think he's going to be great. That 3-star, I think, is low for him. He's got the athletic ability. He's got the power. He's got the size. He's got the strength, and he's got the speed. I think he could be the level of Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, I don't think he's going to be as highly as him. Trevor Lawrence is arguably the most recruited, most highly skilled prospect to come in day one to college games since Andrew Luck. I'm not saying he's going to be like that. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence was number 1 recruit. He's a 3-star, so very different there. But what I'm saying is we've had very inconsistent quarterback play, right? Since Trevor Lawrence left, we had Kelly Bryant, we had DJU, we had Cole Stout came in for a little bit. We had then Cade Klubnik came in, and there was a whole debacle between DJU and Cade Klubnik, and then DJ transferred. Cade came in and was inconsistent and had a weird year. We are all kinds of the field with quarterback play, right? We've said this stat a bunch, and we're going to keep saying it because it's heartbreaking. 16-20, 3rd overall QBR. 20-24, like 72nd, 74th, something like that. Terrible drop off a quarterback. Tait Reynolds is the player, especially behind Dabo Swinney and with Garrett Riley leading the offense. I think he could be one that truly is going to turn this program around with the quarterback style. Cade Klubnik still might do that. I'm not saying Cade count him out. He's got this year and next year as well. Next year we have a freshman coming in with Blake Hebert. He's going to be a great quarterback. I think he's a 4-star coming in. Excited about him. But Tait Reynolds, mark it down. He's going to be something special. So excited to see that. Hopefully he doesn't decommit or anything like that, but I think he's locked in. Everything he's talked about, wanting to play for a school that's a family, Clemson check. Academic success, Clemson definitely check. A coach with prominent history and a coach with a big personality that's going to lead a guy on and off the field, Dabo Swinney for sure check. A good offensive coordinator, check. He everything that he wants in a school, Clemson definitely has and thrives in. So excited about that. Excited about this young man coming and joining Clemson University in 2 years from now. So that'll be great. And the last part of our Tracking Tuesday on today's episode is we're just going to give you a brief look at where we are for next year's class. At one point, we were the number 2. I think we got number 2 overall ranking for the 2025 football class. We have dropped down a little bit. We are now 7th in the nation with that class. Overall, first overall is Ohio State, Alabama, Georgia, Oregon. Oregon's come up a lot in recent stuff. LSU, Notre Dame, and then Clemson is sitting at a 91.134. Right now we have 0 5-stars, we have 9 4-stars, and 4 3-stars for a total of 13 commits for next year. Our top players right now, Isaiah Campbell, number 38 national, number 4th edge from Durham, comes in, he's leading that. But we also have a 4-star edge with Ari Watford coming in. We got a great running back out of Lynchburg, Virginia with Gideon Davidson. Cornerback with Grayson Littleton, he's going to be great. That's a player to watch out for. He's going to be something special. Another defensive lineman with Amari Adams, offensive tackle Braden Jacobs, and then a quarterback, like we mentioned earlier, Blake Hebert. So excited about all them. Clemson should be set. Next year should have a great class. I hate not seeing that 5-star, but we're going to be good. Dabo's continuing to do his thing, proving why he's a great coach, one of the best in the nation right now, with another great recruiting class, top 10 recruiting class, that I definitely think is just going to improve this team that's going to have success this year. But with all that being said, that's going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Clemson podcast. Thanks so much for joining us today. Again, later this week, we're going to dive into more football conversations as we continue to get closer and closer to opening day kickoff. Let me know your thoughts on today's topics. What's your thoughts on what we said? Do you think Dabo's going to win that award? Would you put another game in that top 20? Where would you put our top 2 games that landed in the top 20? Do you agree with the ranking, all that? Also, are you as high at Tait Reynolds as I am? Are you lower? Are you indifferent? What's your thoughts there? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Reach out to us on Twitter at @IamJohnBivens. Email us, drop a comment. We'd love to hear feedback. If you haven't, please make sure you're subscribed to the podcast wherever you listen to them at, or over on YouTube. That way we can be your first listen every single day here on the Locked On Clemson podcast. We can't wait to see you on the next episode. But until then, keep that Tiger pride alive and roaring. And as always, go Tigers.